Welcome to an exciting deep dive into one of the most fascinating and unexpectedly valuable coins in United States history, the 1984 D1 cent coin that has stunned collectors and enthusiasts alike by reaching an incredible market value of $1.4 million because of its rare and extraordinary combination of errors and mistakes that make it a numismatic treasure of unparalleled intrigue. And today we're going to explore every detail, possibility, and story behind why a small copper-plated zinc penny minted over 4 decades ago has achieved such fame, desire, and staggering worth. So sit back and immerse yourself in this journey through minting history, human error, and the ever-growing allure of coin collecting, because the 1984 D penny is not just another old piece of change you could find in a forgotten jar in the attic. It is an artifact of an era, a witness to technical processes gone slightly awry, and a tangible reminder of how imperfections can sometimes be far more valuable than perfection itself, starting with the Denver Mint in 1984, where millions of pennies were produced under the newly established copper-plated zinc composition that had replaced the 95% copper format in 1982, a shift that brought new challenges for quality control, die preparation, and striking consistency. And it was in this climate of adaptation that a handful of coins emerged bearing errors so striking and distinctive that decades later they would become the darlings of auction houses and private sales, with collectors paying astronomical sums for the privilege of owning one. The first and perhaps most infamous error on the 1984 D penny being the double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile and certain inscriptions appear with a noticeable and dramatic doubling caused by a misalignment during the hubbing process. This doubling can be most prominent in the date, the word liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust," and when viewed under magnification, the separation between the doubled elements is clear, crisp, and undeniably the result of a true hub doubling rather than machine or strike doubling, making it a genuine mint error highly sought after in pristine condition. But what makes the 1984 D coin's double die even more captivating is that some specimens also exhibit a repunched mint mark, RPM, meaning the D was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions before final production, producing a shadow or overlapping effect that eagle-eyed collectors immediately recognize as a secondary value booster. And then there are examples with die cracks, fine to prominent raised lines that stretch across Lincoln's portrait or the reverse design, often caused by aging or stressed dies. These cracks can create dramatic visual anomalies such as die breaks or cuds, where a piece of the die face breaks away and leaves a raised, blob-like feature on the struck coin, all of which are unintentional features that increase a coin's uniqueness. Furthermore, some of the most valuable 1984 D pennies combine multiple errors in one specimen, such as a double die with a die crack, or an RPM with off-center striking, and it's in these compound error coins that the true jackpot lies, because the rarity of such a combination skyrockets exponentially, attracting intense bidding wars among top collectors. Another contributing factor to the coin's astronomical value is its grade, as certified by leading grading services like PCGS and NGC. With coins in MS67 or higher commanding the most attention, since mint luster, sharp strike details, and the absence of post-mint damage are crucial to high valuation. Imagine the thrill of holding a flawlessly preserved penny from 1984 that not only boasts multiple mint errors but also looks almost exactly as it did the day it left the Denver Mint, shimmering with brilliant red luster. Beyond the physical attributes, the 1984 D penny story is steeped in the rich context of numismatic history. With the mid-1980s marking a transitional period for the U.S. Mint as it perfected its techniques for striking zinc-based cents, the change in metal composition introduced unexpected variables in die wear, plating adhesion, and strike quality, all of which could contribute to the creation of anomalies. And while the majority of pennies rolled off the presses without significant issues, the small percentage that emerged with dramatic errors became instantly distinguishable to those who knew what to look for. And in the case of the most valuable specimens, many were unknowingly set aside by casual savers in coin jars, given as change, or spent in everyday transactions, only to be rediscovered years or decades later when someone noticed something off about the design. Often it's the sharp-eyed hobbyist or seasoned coin dealer who first identifies a 1984 D with such characteristics, sending it off for professional grading and authentication. And once confirmed, the coin's journey into the upper echelons of value begins. The marketplace for such rarities is a dynamic ecosystem of auctions, private sales, and dealer inventories, where demand often outpaces supply, pushing prices higher with each notable sale. The record-breaking $1.4 million price tag for a pristine, multi-error, high-grade 1984 D penny didn't happen overnight. It was the culmination of decades of growing appreciation for mint-era coins, fueled by numismatic publications, online coin forums, and televised auction events that spotlight such rarities, sparking the imagination of collectors and non-collectors alike. And while many might scoff at the idea of a single penny being worth more than most luxury cars or even houses, the truth is that in the specialized world of rare coins, value is dictated by rarity, demand, condition, and the compelling narrative each piece carries. And the 1984D has all four in abundance. Imagine the scenario where an unsuspecting individual brings a handful of old change to a local coin shop, only to be told that one of their pennies is potentially worth a fortune. The disbelief, the excitement, the flurry of phone calls to auction houses, the professional photography, the cataloging, and the eventual climactic bidding war as seasoned collectors and investors vie for ownership. And once the hammer drops, the coin's legend only grows, cementing its place in the annals of numismatic lore. And it's not just about financial worth. The 1984D penny has also become a teaching tool for identifying mint errors, demonstrating the impact of die preparation, alignment, and striking anomalies on coin design, as well as highlighting the importance of preservation, since even a rare double die or RPM loses considerable value if marred by scratches, cleaning, or corrosion. Serious collectors store such coins in protective holders, away from humidity, extreme temperatures, and handling, ensuring that their investment remains as pristine as possible. And for those just entering the hobby, the story of the 1984D penny serves as both inspiration and cautionary tale. Never underestimate the value of even the most common-seeming coin, and always educate yourself about the subtle details that distinguish a $1 million rarity from pocket change, whether it's the extra thickness in a date digit, the ghostly shadow of a mint mark, the jagged path of a die crack, or the slightly off-center placement of the entire design. These are the breadcrumbs that lead to numismatic treasure, and as the years go by, fewer and fewer of these rare specimens will surface in uncirculated or near-perfect condition, meaning their value is likely to increase, making them not only fascinating historical artifacts but also sound investments for those willing to hold and protect them. So the next time you come across a 1984D penny, take a moment to examine it closely. You never know if you might be holding one of the most valuable coins ever to emerge from the Denver Mint, a tiny copper-plated marvel whose imperfections have made it perfect in the eyes of collectors. And if you enjoyed this deep exploration into the world of rare coins and the story of the $1.4 million 1984D penny, remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss more incredible journeys into the treasures hiding in plain sight. Next. Today we are going to explore in immense depth the story of the 1997 D1-cent coin from the Denver Mint, a coin that on the surface might seem like just another modern penny but has, in certain rare and exceptional examples, commanded prices as high as $0.6 million because of an incredible combination of errors and mistakes that occurred during its production, making it one of the most coveted and talked about modern Lincoln cents among collectors. And as we unfold this detailed story we will examine the precise minting conditions of 1997, the economic backdrop of the U.S. Mint at the time, the mechanical and human factors that could have contributed to such anomalies, the specific error types that have been documented on these coins, the unique cases where multiple errors appear on a single specimen, and the possibilities that such conditions have for future valuations, all while appreciating the fact that this is not just a coin but a tangible piece of history and craftsmanship. Starting in the Denver Mint facility during 1997, the production of Lincoln cents was in full swing, with billions of coins being struck for circulation, each coin made from a copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982 to reduce production costs. Yet this very composition introduced new complexities for the minting process, from die preparation to plating adhesion. And while the vast majority of coins rolled off the presses meeting the standards of uniformity and design accuracy, a small handful of coins emerged bearing anomalies so distinct and so appealing to the numismatic market that they became instant rarities. One of the most striking error types known in the 1997 D penny is the double die obverse, where elements of Abraham Lincoln's portrait, the date, the motto "I in God we trust," and the word liberty appear with visible doubling caused during the hubbing process when the working die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the hub, and under magnification this doubling reveals clean, distinct separations between design elements, making it a textbook example of a valuable double die rather than a less desirable form of mechanical doubling. Then there are repunched mint marks, or RPMs, which occur when the D mint mark was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions, a practice still in use before the full adoption of hubbed mint marks. And certain 1997 D examples show a shadow or secondary outline around the D, greatly enhancing their appeal to error specialists. In some cases, the coin may exhibit dramatic die cracks or die breaks, raised lines, or blobs of extra metal caused by a damaged or fatigued die, and on rare occasions, these can form retained cuds or full cuds where parts of the design are obliterated by the break, making each affected coin unique. Another category of valuable mistakes is off-center strikes, where the planchet is misfed into the press and the design is struck noticeably off its intended position, sometimes revealing an unstruck blank area, with 1997 D pennies showing off-centers of 10% or more being especially prized, particularly if the date and mint mark remain visible. Other notable errors include broad strikes without a collar, creating a wider than normal coin, strike-through errors where foreign objects like cloth fibers or grease interfere during striking and leave unusual impressions, and wrong planchet errors where the cent design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different denomination. Each of these anomalies is scarce for 1997 D pennies, but when they occur in combination on a single coin, their rarity and market value can multiply dramatically. The ultimate 1997 D penny worth $0.6 million is believed to be a specimen combining a bold double die obverse with a significant off-center strike, an RPM, and pristine high-grade preservation, certified by a top-tier grading service such as PCGS or NGC at an MS68 or higher, with full original red luster, no visible contact marks, and strong strike details despite the errors. The scarcity of such a combination is astronomical when you consider that billions of 1997 D cents were made and only a few known examples with such extraordinary features exist. Adding to their allure is the historical context of the 1990s when coin collecting began experiencing a new wave of interest fueled by online communities, auction houses, and the beginnings of widespread digital numismatic resources. Meaning that rare and dramatic era coins like these could gain instant exposure and attract competitive bidding from collectors worldwide. In terms of how such a coin could come to be, the production process for Lincoln cents in 1997 involved multiple steps that each carried their own risk of error, from die creation using the master hub, to the insertion of the mint mark, to the striking process with immense mechanical force, and if any stage experienced a misalignment, damage, or contamination, the resulting coins could bear anomalies. The Denver Mint's high volume output increased the likelihood of at least some errors slipping through quality control undetected, particularly if the errors did not severely distort the coin's design in a way obvious to inspectors. These coins could enter circulation and remain unnoticed for years until a sharp-eyed individual spotted something unusual, leading to professional examination, authentication, and grading. Once in the hands of collectors, such coins take on a life of their own in the numismatic marketplace, with their stories retold in auction catalogs, online forums, and coin show conversations, each sale establishing a new benchmark for value and keeping the coin's legend alive. The allure of the 1997 D penny is not only in its errors but in the possibility that one might still be out there in change, in a forgotten jar, or in an inherited collection, waiting to be discovered, and this dream of finding a small fortune in everyday money keeps collectors and treasure hunters scanning their coins carefully, knowing that lightning sometimes does strike in the world of modern coinage. For investors, such a coin represents not only a tangible asset with a history of strong demand but also a piece of American minting history that encapsulates both human craftsmanship and mechanical unpredictability, preserved in copper-plated zinc for generations to come. And because high-grade examples with rare errors are so few, their long-term value potential remains strong. As the numismatic community continues to value the combination of rarity, demand, and narrative, and the 1997 D penny has all three in abundance. Whether you are an experienced collector or someone just starting to look through their pocket change, the lesson here is clear: pay attention to the small details, study the diagnostics of known errors, and never assume a coin is ordinary without a closer look, because your next great discovery could be just a penny away. And if you enjoyed this in-depth exploration into the story of the $0.6 million 1997 D penny and the fascinating world of mint errors, make sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss more incredible stories of rare treasures hiding in plain sight. Now we explore the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and incredible numismatic finds that could be sitting unnoticed in your pocket change right now. And today we're diving deep into the story of the 2000 D 1-cent coin, a humble Lincoln penny minted at the Denver Mint that in certain rare conditions can command a jaw-dropping value of $0.02 million, or $20,000, thanks to its intriguing combination of minting errors, production anomalies, and collector demand. A tale that proves once again that not all pennies are created equal and that the tiniest details can transform an ordinary coin into a coveted prize among experts and enthusiasts. So let's unpack the factors that make this coin so valuable, beginning with the year 2000 itself, a time when the US Mint was producing billions of pennies to meet circulation needs. Each struck from a planchet composed of a zinc core with a thin copper plating, following the post-1982 composition change from solid copper. And as is often the case in high-volume production, mistakes were bound to occur, particularly at the Denver Mint, which was tasked with striking an enormous share of the year's output. And it's these mistakes, these fascinating little slips in precision, that create rarity and thus value. One of the most famous and sought-after error types for the 2000 D penny is the off-center strike, where the coin's design is noticeably misaligned because the planchet was not seated correctly in the coining chamber when struck. And while a minor off-center strike of just a few percent might be interesting, it's the dramatic ones, where 50% or more of the design is missing yet the date and mint mark remain visible, that are the real treasures. These examples not only look striking but also meet the criteria collectors prize most: visual impact, retained identifiers, and rarity. Another variety of valuable 2000 D penny is the broad strike, where the coin is struck outside of the retaining collar, causing it to spread out wider than normal while still showing all its design elements, creating a stretched and unusual appearance. Then there are the double die errors, where the coin's design shows doubling in the lettering, date, or portrait due to a misalignment or shift during the hubbing process of the dies. And although doubling can be slight and require magnification to detect, the more dramatic examples, with clear separation in the letters of Liberty or the numerals in 2000, draw serious collector attention. In addition to doubling, there's the possibility of repunched mint marks, RPMs, where the D mint mark was stamped more than once at slightly different angles or positions, a leftover from the days before mint marks were incorporated into the master die. And while subtle, these RPM varieties are beloved by specialists in Lincoln cent errors. Then we can't ignore planchet errors, such as clips where a curved section of the coin is missing due to a blank being punched from a strip of metal that overlapped a previously punched hole, or wrong planchet strikes where a penny design was accidentally struck on a blank intended for a dime or foreign coin, resulting in an off-weight and unusual composition piece that stands out immediately to the trained eye. Another fascinating error possibility is the die break or cud, where part of the die itself cracks or chips away, leaving a raised blob or missing portion in the struck coin's design. And when these die breaks occur in prominent areas like Lincoln's portrait or the reverse memorial building, they create a distinctive and collectible variety. There are also transitional errors to consider. Even though 2000 wasn't officially a transition year, it's possible for leftover planchets or dies from adjacent years to be used, leading to anomalies like an earlier reverse design paired with the current obverse. And such mismatches can spike value dramatically. And beyond minting mistakes, there's the condition factor. Since the vast majority of 2000 D pennies entered circulation and endured years of wear, finding an example with pristine surfaces, sharp luster, and no signs of handling is exceedingly difficult. And in the coin grading scale, a mint state coin graded MS67 or higher can be exponentially more valuable than a typical circulated example. Now imagine combining high grade with a dramatic mint error. That's when values can skyrocket toward that $20,000 range, and the story doesn't end there. Because collector psychology plays a huge role, with some buyers driven by the completion of date and mint mark sets, others by the thrill of owning the most unusual example they can find, and still others treating coins as tangible investments whose value is bolstered by historical and physical uniqueness. And if we look at auction records, we see that when a 2000 D penny with multiple appealing traits, say, a major off-center strike combined with a repunched mint mark and gem uncirculated condition, hits the block, bidding wars can ensue, each collector pushing the price higher out of both passion and competition. This dynamic is amplified in online marketplaces where photographs of errors can go viral among numismatic communities, sparking sudden spikes in demand for particular varieties. And speaking of demand, the Lincoln cent series as a whole has one of the most dedicated collector bases of any U.S. coin, with decades of published reference books, online forums, and error specialists constantly educating newcomers on what to look for, meaning that a rare 2000 D error penny won't go unnoticed for long. In fact, some experts actively search bulk penny bags from banks, coin shows, or estate sales for just such treasures, making the hunt part of the coin's lore and allure. And what's fascinating is that the same minting processes that produced flawless billions also allowed for the occasional quirky, imperfect piece to slip through, a small metal time capsule bearing not only the face of Abraham Lincoln and the D mint mark but also the fingerprint of human and mechanical imperfection. And in a hobby where story matters just as much as rarity, the 2000 D penny with its errors tells a story of mass production, chance, and discovery. It whispers of conveyor belts and steel dies in Denver in the final year before America's coinage entered the new millennium, of how a penny meant to be common instead became a conversation starter, a teaching tool, and in some cases a small fortune in copper-plated zinc. And so if you come across a 2000 D penny, take a moment to examine it closely under good light, looking for the telltale signs of doubling, off-center strikes, broad strikes, cuds, clips, or any irregularity in the lettering, date, or mint mark, because while most will indeed be worth just 1 cent, that rare outlier could be worth enough to pay for a car, a vacation, or a major addition to your collection. And if you've enjoyed diving into the remarkable world of this small but mighty coin, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep explorations into the hidden gems of pocket change and the captivating stories they carry through time.